don't know about you, but everyone I know is talking about The Maid. It's the hot new book by Nita Prose. So I finally got my hands on The Maid. My wonderful friend that always brings me books to my church loaned me this one, and I was so excited to read it. So let me tell you now, though, is it worth the hype? We shall find out. So hello everyone, and welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas. I am Miss Thomas, and I am here to tell you about The Maid by Nita Prose. So The Maid is, great new book everyone is so excited about, and it's sort of a mystery, sort of a book about characters, and it even has a little pinch of romance thrown in. But I have to tell you, I read The Maid and I loved it, but I wouldn't give it a 5-star rating. I thought it was enjoyable, I thought it was good, but it didn't rock my world. So I don't know if I'm just in a bad mood and I'm being hard to please lately or what. So I wasn't as excited for The Maid as I had hoped. Don't you hate that when you get a book and you're really excited for it and you're really looking forward to it, and then it just doesn't meet your expectations? I think maybe I would have been better off going into it knowing absolutely nothing, because I expected so much. It was good, that said. I definitely think it was good, but if I had paid for it in the store, I probably would have been annoyed. I'm very fortunate to have a friend that goes out and buys new books and loans them to me all the time. And she loved it. She said it was really good. And it was really good. It just wasn't groundbreaking. So The Maid is the story of Molly Maid, and she is a character who likes order and routine and definitely likes cleanliness. And my glasses are driving me crazy. They have to come off. Okay, so those little green marks in my glasses. Am I the only one? I'm looking in the camera and I'm seeing green on my glasses. Driving me crazy. So Molly the Maid is a very naive, very kind-hearted young woman in the novel, and that is actually her name, Molly. She didn't know she was going to grow up to be a maid, and she is raised by her grandmother, and I think in my mind I'm picturing a character with Asperger's syndrome, but she definitely has some sort of I don't know if I would say, I guess you would say a disability, where she has trouble, she takes things very literally, and she has trouble reading people. She has trouble reading whether people are, she always asks them, are you laughing with me or are you laughing at me? And often people are unkind and laughing at her. And that was one reason I didn't really enjoy the book. I don't find that entertaining. That broke my heart, to read about people being unkind to someone just because they're different. But the book does certainly portray Molly the Maid as the hero, and she should be. She's a fantastic character. She's a maid who takes her job very, very seriously and really takes cleaning, cleans to her absolute positively to her best all the time. And she works at a very fancy hotel, and she lives with her grandmother. But then her grandmother died, and she reflects often in the book on her grandmother, and her grandmother sounds like a lovely, lovely person. And Molly herself is just sort of an old soul. I believe that's how she described herself too in the book, as an old soul. And because she takes people at their word, and so literally, she gets taken for granted by some of the characters in the book, some of the other people that work in the hotel. And like I say, I really didn't enjoy that about the book, because part of me just thought, like, how could anyone be that cruel? And of course, people can be that cruel, I suppose, but I avoid people like that, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. But then I think, well, how could she be so completely naive, and why doesn't anyone speak up for her and tell her? When her grandmother was alive, her grandmother told her, how to read certain situations, or she would explain things that were said to Molly that Molly didn't understand. But then after her grandmother passes, she's just wide open to be really used and abused by different people in the book. Now, there's nothing really horrific that happens to Molly. It's more just the way she gets used and manipulated that's heartbreaking. Molly happens to go into a room to clean it when she discovers a very wealthy, very famous man has died. And it looks like maybe an overdose, but then it could also be a murder. So there is this murder investigation. How did this wealthy, powerful man die? And what exactly does Molly know? And of course, we take Molly at face value. Everything Molly says seems to be true. And we find out that Molly actually she can manipulate a little bit herself. And I really appreciated that twist in the storyline. I like that about Molly. I don't want to give anything away, but you definitely get the sense when you're reading the story that maybe there's a little more to it, and you find out that Molly is not entirely as naive as we thought. So I will say that. She makes friends with the man who was killed. She makes friends with his wife, and the wife is just this very beautiful socialite, and she's mistreated by the man like some sort of gold digger. And, the man who died is far from lovely. We find out that he was actually pretty abusive to her and to other people. And he was actually pretty unkind to Molly too. So we find that out. And then as Molly is being investigated and questioned about the death of this man, she makes some interesting friends. And there's one character in particular that is a friend of her grandmother's, and he got her the job at the hotel. And he keeps saying to her, like, how are you doing, Molly? You know that you can always ask me for help if you ever need anything. And as the story unfolds, it turns out that she does need his help, and he turns out to be just a brilliant character. The friendship that Molly had with some of the characters was just beautiful to read about and to watch. So the character that helped her in the bind, that was a wonderful friendship to watch. And the socialite, the wealthy gold digging socialite of the man who died, she had an interesting relationship with Molly. So that was really, I don't know, I enjoyed some of the passages that talk about the way Molly relates to different people, especially people from different walks of life. You see the very rich and very powerful that sometimes mistreat Molly, and then you see the very rich and maybe not so powerful extend really genuine kindness to Molly, and that's kind of lovely. And you see some of the people that work at the hotel as just being horrible people. There's another maid in the novel that I just wanted to smack. And there are some other people who work in the hotel, I don't want to give anything away, that were just despicable. So there was nothing really disturbing in the book. Like, I didn't read about any, depictions of horrible violence or anything like that, but just you're reading it and you're thinking, wow, how can a person be that selfish and that unkind? And for that reason, I did not enjoy the book. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's okay. You wouldn't have much of a story if everybody was fantastic all the time in a book. But I just thought some of the characters in this book, as low as they went and the way that they took advantage of Molly, I found just not enjoyable. And I guess that was the point. The point was to, really watch Molly rise above the meanness of some people who just were out to get, take care of number one and use Molly. And despite that, she did pretty well for herself in the end. So that made the book worthwhile, and I definitely recommend it. I just don't think that it was all I had hoped for. So those are my opinions on The Maid by Nita Prose. Go ahead and read it for yourself. Bye for now.